Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm Ben, and I've got a bit of an embarrassing issue today. Neither my Husqvarna 701 Enduro nor my Suzuki DR650 will start, and I'm not really sure why. If you guys remember back on, I think it was September 30th for me, I don't remember exactly when you guys saw the video, but after a nice long single track trail ride with my dad, I turned this bike on and got no lights on the dash and absolutely nothing when I hit the starter, regardless of what's going on here. A lot of you guys said, it's the safety switches, either the clutch or the kickstand, but I've never had any issues with that, and I don't think that that has anything to do with why that bike was dead then. I guess I know it was then, and I don't think it's now, because of course that doesn't really have anything to do with your lights on the dash. What I thought I had it narrowed down to was the fact that my CarPlay unit here was tied into the battery directly, and since I've got another one on the XR650L there and I had them both going, I thought when they were sort of fighting over the Bluetooth connection for my phone that it sort of glitched this one out.
Thing on your dash, that's on, right?
I don't think so.
I thought I had turned it on before.
And then I assumed that it had just kept chewing up battery life while it sat here in the garage in between the ride and the next time that I tried to start it up. And as you guys might recall, that's why I decided to instead wire the CarPlay unit to the keyed accessory port underneath the DR's seat right behind the gas tank. So really that can't be the issue anymore unless, like some of you guys suggested, the bike is draining too much power while I'm out and riding it. But this thing only draws about an amp, so the issue I think is when it's sitting, not when it's being ridden. It has been, well, probably about a month, I think, since I had this thing started, which I know is a long time, especially at somewhere around 40 or 50 degrees. This was a little bit closer to the 40-degree mark when I walked out here this morning. But I would think that the lithium batteries that I've got in here would be just fine. And most of that's based on the fact that I've got a lithium battery, albeit a different brand, in the TW200 that basically just sits in the trailer. We only start that bike once a month, if that even. And I'll be interested to see what it does today. We'll get these things fired up and take one around back to see if that one starts, but that's gonna be much colder than my concrete garage. And the 701 Enduro here actually has the same battery that the DR650 does. And I put that in here, it's gotta be about a year ago now, and this bike, since I've been spending most of my time on the DR and the XR, basically just sits. So I mean, it sat for over a month before with absolutely no issues. But now when I turn its key, we get absolutely nothing. But since I'm assuming the TW is just fine, and like I said, this bike has been just fine, I think maybe the problem is, well, something that I possibly created a little bit more recently. And that'd be the fact that I've got this Speedle CarPlay unit wired directly to the battery. And even though that should only be drawing power when the bike's ignition is hot because it's got a separate accessory wire that I have connected to that keyed accessory circuit, it seems as though maybe it is still able to leach some power, because looking back at my records, just about a month after I installed this and then went out and took it for a test ride, I found this bike dead for the first time. And back then I had thought that I maybe just bumped the A on the keypad at some point in time when I had parked the bike, and then just never noticed that the CarPlay unit had come on and drained the battery. But now I'm thinking that it probably wasn't my mistake, and that this thing does just have some amount of power running through it, draining the battery at all times. And while it would be easy then to point the finger at the CarPlay unit on the DR, because that's wired directly to that keyed accessory port, there's really no way for that unit to be stealing power. However, there is another accessory that I installed on the DR just a few weeks before I ran into the dead battery issues the first time with this bike, and that's my fancy auxiliary lights. They are wired into a keyed accessory wire, meaning they'll only come on when the key is on, of course, if there's actually power. But even though I can't turn them on with the key in the off position, there is still, again, much like the 701 Enduro, something attached directly to the battery. And I'm thinking, much like your cell phone charger that plugs into the wall, even though you may not have a phone plugged into it actually drawing any current, there's still a transformer in there that is continually, I believe in most cases, eating up some bit of electricity, which I think maybe is what's going on here as well. I doubt the batteries are completely dead. I think they just run down to a certain point and then act like they're completely dead or won't do anything. And if you guys have ever used a new lithium-ion impact or any sort of handheld tool, you probably know what I'm talking about. They basically will work up until the point that their computer won't let them run anymore to sort of save the battery itself, and then you just get absolutely nothing. So you go from power to nothing. But obviously that doesn't help at all if I want to fire these things up just to let them run for a bit, or if I possibly want to take them out for a ride, which is what I've got planned this week. I'm not going to do that today since it's actually supposed to get up into the 40s outside, so I've got to go test an e-bike just to make sure that we can still pay the bills. But when it cools off later in the week, I'm going to take all 3 of these bikes out for a cold weather test ride to see how the wind protection that I've added to mostly these 2, but also I guess just to see how the wind protection on the 701 does, especially since it's got these nice little scoops here that I think will help protect me from the cold wind a little bit better. And of course, if I'm going to do that, I've got to get these things running. So let's see if we can get them fired up, and then we'll take one out back to check on the little TW. Oh, I should turn the heat on before I did this. Ugh. Oh, wait a minute. I see the problem already. All joking aside, I have actually not had a single problem with this bike. Well, that sounds much better.
Hey, where are you going? I don't even hunt anymore. All right, see you later. Ah!
We'll dig into the DR here. That's going to take a little bit more work, so we got to pull the side panels off, and the seat comes off with fasteners rather than just a quick ripcord. But I suppose being a Suzuki, we really should never have to work on it at all, right? I know. If I would have left it stock, then it would have been just fine. But what fun would that be? We also got a little bit more work to do to get to the battery itself, too, don't we? Oh, I should have turned the heat on. 40 degrees is too cold to be working without gloves. I'm not going to have enough time to diagnose or fix anything today. I just basically want to get some juice back in them and fire up this bike specifically because I had to stick 87 or 80, whatever the low grade is around here that has 10% ethanol in it. And being a carbureted bike, I do not want that corn coagulating in there and causing me issues later this winter. So even after firing the 701 up with this, we've still got a full charge. All right, lights, choke, action. Looks a bit like a wet Pomeranian. Dang it!
Oh! That's a little crusty. Crusty mud. Ow, I got hit in the knee with a stick. Ooh. Ooh, you're getting a little luggy there. Oh. Well, let's see. Is that enough? Oh, yeah. It's also enough breathing to get my visor fogged up. Ooh! Alright, let's go do what we're supposed to be doing out here now. No more deer. My dad and my little guy were out muzzle loading, climbing up that hill. My dad didn't have his gun loaded yet, and they saw the only deer that they saw the entire time that they were out. At least they got to see one, but no deer for us this year. Ever since I got kind of serious about the YouTube thing, I really just kind of gave up on hunting. It just takes too much. I just do not have the bandwidth anymore between the kids and spending long hours working. Don't want to spend the time to actually get a deer around here, as you sure can't just wake up, grab a rifle and go, unless you're super lucky, I guess. Just aren't enough deer. I guess I shouldn't say that. There's plenty of deer by my place, but where we actually hunt, there's too many other people on the county land, and you got to do lots of field work beforehand to know where the deer are going to be at. Alright, let's see if the featherweight battery in here will get this thing going. Yeah, no problem. Well, there we go. Whoops. Oh, it's like cruise control. Where is it? There it is. I don't know how thick this is. Probably not thick enough. Oh, I guess it is, though. Woo! Uh-oh. Maybe it's not. Well, it seems like I've sort of proved my theory there that just because it's a lithium-ion battery and it's cold, and even if it is being neglected, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to die. That is a different brand than the two that I have in this bike, so maybe that has something to do with it, but I don't know. It's just the fact that the 701 sat so much last season with that battery without any issues, and now all of a sudden I've started slapping on these new fancy accessories. I'm leaning a little bit more towards the finger needing to be pointed at my devices rather than the batteries, but honestly I'm really not exactly sure yet, and I will dig into it and hopefully get to the bottom of it. If you guys have any advice or thoughts on the issues that I'm having, I'd love to hear them down in the comments section. Otherwise, I guess I'll just update you as I get stuff figured out. I think we'll probably work on the DR650L first. I've got some stuff that I want to do. I've also got some other sort of tentative ride plans after I get a few other things done to actually the TW. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to those videos. Thanks for watching today. Take care, stay safe, stay swanky, get out, enjoy this beautiful world any chance you get. Catch you guys on the next one.